Okay, big news, breaking news. Trump has fired James Comey. The director of the FBI has now been terminated as of this afternoon. And this raises a number of questions that I think are worth going through with some care and specificity because it's understandable why people would rush to different conclusions about what might have happened here, and the most egregious possible interpretation of what transpired may well be correct. Um, the FBI director is supposed to have a roughly 10-year term, but the director still serves at the pleasure of the president. So Trump was within his rights constitutionally and legally to relieve Comey of duty, but it definitely does contravene certain norms around how this sort of thing is handled. Just as a matter of history, um, Bill Clinton did dismiss or fire an FBI director in 1993 under much different circumstances, but just to say that um, it's not unprecedented that something like this would happen. The circumstances of this investigation or of this matter probably are unprecedented, and we can go through some of them now. First of all, it seemed to me incredibly sleazy and weird that the manner in which the news of this termination was delivered is that Trump dispatched his personal bodyguard, Keith Schiller, to the Department of Justice to hand in some letters in a manila envelope. That in its own right is pretty creepy. Keith Schiller does have an official government role at this point, but he is Trump's longstanding personal bodyguard. So, just in terms of the optics, that is again pretty creepy. Also, it remains to be seen why this was done in such an ostensibly a hasty way. Comey apparently was not even in Washington, D.C. today to personally receive this news. He is evidently in Los Angeles, where he was slated to speak at a recruitment event tonight. I'm actually going to go see if I can stake out this event just to see what is going on and whether he actually shows up. There have been conflicting reports as to whether or not he will follow through with this appointment that he had for tonight in West Hollywood, apparently. So, if I see anything, I will certainly let you know. What else is worth mentioning here? Obviously, there is a lot. One question that I had immediately is that there seems to be a little bit of tension in the way that this is being interpreted, at least initially. And again, there's going to be a lot to say about this in the future, so I don't want to make any firm declarations either way. But James Comey has been other than Trump, the chief villain for Democrats for many months now. They attribute Hillary's loss to Comey's supposed interference in October of last year when he infamously issued the so-called Comey letter and announced the reopening of the investigation into Hillary's emails, right? So we don't have to rehash all that. That is the main reason why Democrats and liberals have been so incensed about Comey for a long time, right? So to me, it raises a question. On the one hand, can you object to Trump firing Comey if you believe that Comey was responsible for an egregious abuse of power and potentially thwarted democracy? Now, you don't have to agree that Trump's motives in doing this were pure, but he essentially achieved the outcome that you had wanted if you thought that James Comey was unfit for office. So there might be a way to reconcile that tension, but that's what immediately jumps out at me. On the other hand, so the stated rationale for the firing is that law enforcement professionals, including former attorney generals in both parties, believe that Comey was egregious in his handling of the Clinton email server investigation, namely the July 5th, 2016 statement that Comey made, essentially upbraiding Hillary for her conduct, notwithstanding Comey's declining to actually recommend charges against her. Interestingly, the letter that outlines the rationale for the firing doesn't seem to emphasize as much the supposed Comey letter, and that's what people are, in the main, incensed by. But here's the thing. So, of course, the big reaction is that Trump fired Comey because he wanted to impede the FBI investigation into the Trump campaign's alleged ties with Russia. And that any other rationale cited was simply pretextual and just a facade to mask Trump's real reasons for wanting to fire Comey, which is that he was worried that Comey might come up with damning material or evidence on Trump or maybe his associates. But in order for that to be the case, you would think that Rod Rosenstein, who is the Deputy Attorney General who was just confirmed on April 26th and who wrote the letter outlining at least the ostensible rationale for the firing, in order for the pretextual explanation to have merit, you'd have to believe that Rod Rosenstein was party to a scheme. And basically is just helping Trump launch this malicious effort to get rid of Comey. Because that sort of strains credulity, because Rod Rosenstein, he was basically got bipartisan acclamation. He was confirmed on a 94-6 vote just, again, a couple of weeks ago. So everybody voted for him essentially in the Senate, including Bernie Sanders, etc. And Rosenstein was initially appointed by Bush to be U.S. Attorney for Maryland, and then he was retained by Obama. So basically, he's a bipartisan career official. So in order to believe that Trump mounted this kind of underhanded campaign to depose Comey because he wanted to protect himself or his associates legally, you'd have to say that Rod Rosenstein was essentially party to this conspiracy. And that's possible, but it would certainly be a very dramatic development. It would run counter to what the popular perception of Rosenstein is and was at the time of his confirmation, which again was just 2 or 3 weeks ago. So that's something to at least bear in mind. Again, I don't want to formulate any rash conclusions about what happened here. There's definitely reason for skepticism. It's very, very much possible that Trump simply wanted to impede the FBI investigation into his or his associates' conduct. And according to the New York Times, there's mounting reason to believe that the stated rationale for the dismissal was in fact pretextual because, as Michael S. Schmidt reports, Attorney General Jeff Sessions had been charged with coming up with reasons to fire him since at least last week. So you could imagine a scenario where Trump wanted to get rid of Comey for whatever his reasons might have been, and then just charged Sessions and Rosenstein with coming up with a plausible rationale. And again, it's possible. People should continue asking questions about this. And interestingly enough, Comey was slated to appear yet again in Congress this coming Thursday, and remains to be seen whether he will fulfill that appointment and appear on Thursday, which of course will be a huge draw. So just some initial thoughts. I don't have any significant answers here, and just wanted to give a quick breakdown. So that will be it for now. Stay woke.